So we're continuing with our study of Parshat Noach. We are in the text in the section on Noach, page 95, at the very bottom of the page. Breshit Tet Kafav, Genesis 9, verse 26.
Wait, there's two 95s or what? Yeah.
There's a 95 in every section,
right?
For every Parsha. I'll stand probably without having checked
so this
that
is
I didn't
Noach.
get through any Parsha in less than 95 pages.
Wait, 95? No. I still can't believe your father hasn't had an agreement. He's even tough in death. He won't forgive you to say thank you even that we're studying his. He hasn't come to you either? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you don't
Alan,
recognize
have you
it.
dreamed of him?
What?
Have you had dreams?
You wouldn't come to me necessarily, but...
Sure you would. You're the one who's inviting him to you.
Yes, I'm January 16th. Gimel Shvat. No, Gimel Shvat, he should come to me. Remember, that's how you I should marry you.
It's in your schut, we have Shiur.
Well, yeah,
so let's have Shiur.
9:26, verse number 1. And he said, Vayomer.
Wait, 9:26, 1 second.
At the very bottom of the page.
Right, and he said, right? Vayomer, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is a Zakef Gadol. It might be a little bit difficult to see.
Yeah, it's my eyes for sure.
So,
looks like a blotch. Is it
let me check and be sure. Because it's very illegible in the text.
Yeah, but you have memories of, I know he shoot you out of the basement, but you have memories of him actually writing for the split second that he didn't slam the door in your face. Really. And now we're studying it so many years later.
Yes.
Zakef Gadol. So, I hate that thing. Well, it's your brothers. It's our family that's listening.
Zakef Gadol is a separating line with two dots beside it. So we're going to separate out from things that are before, and we're going to have more than one issue that we're discussing, perhaps one more elevated and one lower than the other. So we were talking in the previous pasuk about the curse that Canaan was going to get. And now we're going to say what's going to happen to the other brothers. So we see very clearly why we've got the line the line to separate out. We're separating out the curse that Canaan is going to get from the various blessings that the other two brothers are going to get.
Right.
And as we'll see later, one of them gets a small blessing and the other gets a large blessing. So we see that it's two-part with one lower and one higher, and it's separated out from the curse that the other brother is getting. So we understand intuitively why this note is there. So let's read through in the text. Number 1, page 96, number 1. Noach had cursed Canaan as the essential offspring of Ham, and he said a contrasting detail with regards to the remaining two sons, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark. So again, we separate out the curse from the blessing with that straight line that tells us that this is a separation. We talked curses before, now we're talking blessings, and we're going to see again that there's more than one level of blessing that's going to be dispensed, hence the two parts to the rest of the note. Baruch, number 2, be blessed. In his state of suffering, Noach did not omit expressing gratitude to heaven by saying, be blessed, even for the pain, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark.
Where are we again?
So the difficulty is when we're at the bottom of the page, in the Hebrew text, page 95, the English text is going to be on page 96.
Right.
So we're on page 96.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
the left-hand column, number 2. So, again, Noah, you have to realize, these are Noah's own children. So for him to have dispensed a curse to his child and his grandson is not something that's easy to do.
Oh, Noah is saying this.
Noah is saying this.
Right.
So, number 1, he even through the pain and through his own personal tragedy of the events that have happened, still comes to express gratitude to heaven. So a mercha is lightly tied to what's gone before, but mostly moving us forward into what's going to come next. So he's lightly talking about the curse, but he's going to move it into the realm of blessing now. So most of what he's talking is moving forward. Hence we have mercha there. Tipcha, Hashem's name, Number 3, in order, that is Hashem in Midat Din, Hashem in the attribute of justice, of dispensing Mida keneged Mida, measure for measure. So even though he had to deal with the curse that was given to Canaan, he's going to, measure for measure, give an equal or greater level of blessing to the other 2 children. So he dispenses with his pain with Baruch. He's saying, okay, even for that, I'm going to continue to remain who I am. And number 3, in order to make his blessing complete, Noach mentioned the name of God in accordance with the Gemara and Brachot. Kol bracha she'en ba hazkarat Hashem eina bracha. Any blessing that doesn't have God's name explicitly mentioned doesn't qualify as a bracha, as a blessing, as stressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark.
Why did you say you got the ding?
Hashem Rabbi is needed Rachman. But perhaps
remember you said you got the ding?
I obviously said it wrong.
Okay. Misspoke.
Okay, so I misspoke. It is Midat Rachamim, obviously. It is mercy, perhaps both for Noach and for the 2 children who he's about to bless. I'm sorry that I misspoke. And now we get Eloke, which is in Midat Hadin, and we spoke it the right way this time. My eyes are wandering, obviously. Number 4, God above of all justice shall simultaneously include his kindness with regard to the remaining sons, as noted by the shape of the reading mark. So this is a munach. A munach separates us out again from what has happened before and moves us forward into what's going to go on afterwards. So the previous Baruch is still attaching us slightly to the curse, even though Vayomer has separated us out from that. And again, when we're moving into the blessing, we separate ourselves out from it yet again. So Noach needed some comfort in between, so he went back, did Baruch Hashem, and then he has to move forward. So you see, even though it's not emphasized in the text, you see that the separation out of the words there and the connectedness and the separation tells us of the anguish of a father who just had to do something very difficult to a child, and the anguish of somebody who's just gone through a personal trauma, but still saying, even with that, I'm going to stay connected to the divine. So I think this is something that you probably would not get anywhere else unless you were specifically focused on the connectivity and the separation that the notes give you, both in terms of Vayomer separating the curse from the blessing, and then Noach having to go back to the curse momentarily to say, okay, even with that, I'm going to invoke blessing, and now we're going to separate out further, and we're going to actually go to the blessing. Because now we're in Midat Din, now we're in the measure of strict justice. One of the ways of aligning yourself with divine will is to say that even the strict justice is in fact merciful, is in fact what I needed at the point. So you see Noach perfectly aligning himself here by invoking that at this point. Number 5, shame with an etnachta, so this is a stabilizing factor. Number 5, by a comparative response to the behavior of shame, he also deserves to be treated by those heavenly elements which guide the principles of his conscience, as suggested by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So shame's name is going to the way that he has behaved is going to be a stabilizing influence on the world versus the curse that had to be meted out to Canaan. And it's completely separated by it. Vihi, and he shall be, with a mercha, so this is likely connected to what's gone before, but mostly sweeps us forward into what's going to come after. Shem proved inborn humanitarian courage based on kindness, and he shall be a leader and a tone giver for various initiatives as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark.
Where is he getting the tone? What's the tone giver?
Accept the tone.
So, and he will be. So, his very existence will mean something. So we're lightly connected back to his name because it's a mercha, but it's mostly what Shem and his descendants are going to do in the future that is going to stand as a testament. Vihi, and it will be. Did I clear that up, or are you still a little fuzzy on how that translates into what's here? He's giving tone because the way that he acts, Shem is giving tone to the future because the way that he acts is going to be propagated through his descendants. So his example is going to be something that is going to lead into future generations and into future things that are in the world. Literally, and it will, and he will be, or so his legacy, his what is inspired by his action in this incident will go on. Kina'an with a tipcha. This is a closing note that leads us mostly back to what's come from before and pauses slightly afterwards. Number 7. In contrast to him, Kina'an shall be the subordinate and respond humbly to Shem's orders and needs as specified by the corresponding directional shape of the closing reading mark.
Well, the very name Canaan means to subdue. He should subdue himself to the other higher brother. But I always, I guess on a lighter note, I always think Shem, like if Shem was in school today, you know, and it was, on a test and say write your name. The teacher would think that Shem's a smart aleck. He would write Shem. He said, "No, I told you to write your name." He said, "My name isn't his name." Get it? Mm-hmm. When you get in trouble, the teacher wouldn't know that that's not his real name. I said to write your name. He said, "That is my name, Shem." He would say in Hebrew like in Israel, Shem, and he writes Shem.
So as we had said before, names that are mentioned in Tanakh are there to give an attribute to what we feel about the person, and it may not in fact have been their real name. So it's very fitting that you actually mentioned it here. We're saying that his name is going to be something that rings out through the generations. So to call him name sort of fits exactly with this situation of bracha, that what is going to be he, Shem is what's going to be he. That his name, just the mention of his name is what's going to go on, so he gets the acronym in Torah of name. And Kina'an, again, gets the attribute of...
acronym, not acronym.
I didn't say acronym, I said...
You said acronym. You also said that's mean that's 2 today.
Okay,
you're becoming more human.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Eponym.
What?
But in any case, Kina'an also means to be subservient, and again, that might not have been what he was truly called, but it teaches us what the Torah wants us to know about him. Eved with a mercha, and I think this is probably one of the most insightful uses of the way that he's using mercha that I've seen so far, and I want to focus on it. So again, mercha on Evet, number 8.
Evet, oh yeah.
Mercha is likely connected to what's come from before, but mostly pushing us forward into the future. And I want you to see what he does with this one. 8. He shall be a slave for eternity, and never have his own will, nor make decisions. All his efforts shall be in the service of someone else, as illustrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. Lightly connected to what was going on before. Shem is lightly connected to what's happened. Canaan is lightly connected to what's happened before. but it's going to go on forever. It's sweeping us forward, and there's no closure for this mercha. So this is, there's no closure. The mercha is just going to go on forever, and we've never done this before with the mercha. We've always felt that the next phrase, certainly the end of a pasuk would close it off. But I think here he's taking the mercha and extending the meaning and saying that the servitude will be something that goes on eternally from here and doesn't close off. So it made me ponder when I read this one. Lamo, for them, number 9, with the stabilizing sof pasuk, even the land he occupies shall not be his own. He shall only prepare it for them who will own it.
Which is what we were talking about before, land of Canaan and Eretz Israel.
So again, the land of Canaan will not belong to him. It will belong to others, and therefore this is a point of stability. That in fact the land that will go to the rightful owners, and things that complete divine will and divine plan always have a stabilizing element to them, and hence that's why Lamo, for them, gets the sof pasuk. We'll read through the pasuk, and
so wait, Lamo, who is the Lamo? Lahem? Is that another way of saying Lahem? So Canaan will be an Eved to the people who will inherit the land and everything. Yeah.
So we're specifically referencing the descendants of Shem.
Right.
Can I ask you about number 5 and number 6?
Mm-hmm.
Shem, the Enachta is usually like a stop, right?
Correct.
And so therefore you would imply that what comes after it is not connected to the same idea.
And we've come across this many times, and I want to re-emphasize the point that you get notes that separate something out, and then you get another note that references back. So you need to, in order to explain shame, you need that to separate out. And then in order to explain the next word, you have to say that the next word is still connected to the paragraph before. So both things are essential. Each word is not a single word. Each word is a paragraph or a thought. So the thought going forward on vihi has to be connected. And the thought that's connected to the word shame has to be separated. So you have both elements there, and in order to write the shame paragraph, you need it to end. And in order to write the vihi paragraph, you need it to connect. They're not mutually exclusive because they're talking about a different thought on a different word which was assigned divinely its own note and its own context in terms of connections and separations. And you can have one word that talks about its paragraph that's an end, and the next word that talks about its paragraph that is a connection to that thing that seemed to have been an end, and both of them are internally consistent, and you don't need to say that the other one ended, therefore how could this be connected? It is, because that's what it was assigned. It's connected. And the other one is completely separated. And and that's not a contradiction. Do we understand? Because that's an essential point here. That one note will say, we stop here, but that's only for the paragraph that we're interpreting that word combination that has a single note to. And the next one that says that it's connected to this thing that we seem to say was disconnected, well, you couldn't understand that next word if you didn't have the connection to before. That's why it was assigned that. So that's part of the beauty of this thing. Both things exist at the same time because they're not single words. They're thought paragraphs. Mm-hmm. We will read through the pasuk, and we're going to notice in particular the stop after Vayomer, the stop after Baruch Hashem, and that separation out from Baruch Hashem to Elokei Shem. Vayomer Baruch Hashem Elokei Shem V'hi Kinan Eved Lamo. I guess the other thing that's the separation between Canaan and his eternal and short-term punishment, because Canaan again is a stop after that tifcha. So we separate him out from what's going to happen to his descendants, to the eternalization of his punishment.
You see the next pasuk, I'm just jumping ahead, it's repeated exactly word for word. V'hi Kinan Eved Lamo.
So we'll get to that.
Yes.
So we'll see why it's different.
They really emphasize it. No, it's the same note even.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue on, I think. We'll do one more. 927. Yaft shall be beauty with a mapach. This takes the idea from before and focuses us forward into what's going to happen afterwards. The characteristic guideline of life and activities of the other son shall be beauty, aesthetics, and comfort in all forms, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark.
Yafet son is Yavan, is Greece.
Yeah. So the idea of beauty is going to be focused by. So we're going to take it. We're going to condense it. Elohim, of God above. It shall be a gift of God above to, this is a pashta, so this word is going to be a focal point. We're going to pause slightly at it. It's going to be a word that's emphasized and elevated. It shall be a gift of God above to provide the resources, the talents, and the imagination to turn ideas into accomplishments, but in the application of his prerogatives, he shall remain under control of judgment of God above, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. So his ego and talents will still be subservient to Elohim. Elohim is going to stand above him still. Leyafet, this is a katon. It's a little bit hard to see in the text. So this is the note with the two dots, the one above the other. So quite obviously we expect a double meaning. Sorry, we missed a remark. And B, the name of God in the capacity of kindness, which joined the name of shame, is not mentioned here. So we'll notice that when we were talking about shame, we said Baruch Hashem with the kind name, Elokei. So we mentioned both the kindness and the harsh judgment. With Yafet, we just say Elohim, so we're just saying the element of judgment here, of din. So shame has the ability to invoke both, to invoke mercy, and then realize that judgment is in fact merciful as well. So this concept of Hashem Elohim will, when we God willing, do make it back to Parshat Breshit, we'll learn perhaps more about that particular combination in that order. But Yafet, who is going to be pursuing beauty and not necessarily be pursuing things that are more elevated, will still have to submit to the will of judgment, the will of God's ultimate divine judgment. So Le Yafet with the katon. So this has again two things that are going to come into it. Number 3, since this son participated in comforting his father, this blessing was suitable for Yafet, who also carries a corresponding name, as pointed out by the bipartite reading mark. So his pursuit of beauty is going to become part of his character. So again, we say that biblical names certainly do reflect an overwhelming characteristic that the person had, or something that's in that person's future, or something that would identify that person, and again, wasn't necessarily the name that they were called by. So that's one aspect of him. And the second aspect is he's still being rewarded for something good that he did, and hence we have, even though he is pursuing beauty and not necessarily pursuing the divine, hence he'll have to be measured against judgment, not against kindness, he still did a kind act. So we have a lower, his pursuit of beauty, and a higher, his ability, at least at this point, to pursue kindness personally in this one episode. Ve'ishkon, with a tipcha, this focuses us back on what had come before and has a slight pause afterwards. And he shall dwell, number 4. He responded favorably to the genuine call of Shem, and he shall dwell and flourish in cooperation with him, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So this is bringing back Yefet to his connection to Shem, who was mentioned in the previous pasuk. So we're going back to that, and we're saying because he connected himself to that ideal, that's why he's going to get this blessing. So because he connected himself to Shem's attitude or Shem's suggestion, separated out from the ahole Shem, in the tense of Shem. Number 5, with the stabilizing etnachta, his activities shall be guided by concepts of kindness, being in the tense of Shem, as stressed by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So here, I think the point that I want to make is, Tipcha gives you a separation. You have this pause, and Shem is standing uniquely different even from Yefet. That we see that Shem stands out because of the pause after the Tipcha. And Shem, again, his behavior becomes the higher standard, the more stabilizing standard, and that's why, again, he gets the etnachta. And mercha, vihi, and he shall be. So again, we're repeating this phrase again. Mercha, lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly sweeping us forward into what's going to come next. Number 6, the constituents of those two brothers shall be in an atmosphere of proper order and justice. But Yefet may become violent as a result of pride in his physical achievements. He shall be curbed, and he shall be downgraded accordingly, as denoted by the directional shape of the reading mark. So even though he's got a connection to Ohale Shem, we're talking about Canaan. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So let's read this again. The two brothers, so that would be Shem and Yefet, are going to be in an order of proper justice, but Yefet may become violent as a result of pride in his physical achievement. So because Yefet is chasing beauty and things that are more worldly, then he might fall into the purview of pride and hence become to the point where he is more proud of himself and forgets where things truly come from. So that is going to be his connection to what Canaan did, thinking himself as the most important, and therefore not allowing any other children to be there to share in Noach's future. So we're saying that Yefet is going to be lightly tied to Canaan's sin.
That's why he has to be in Baal Hashem, to have that good influence.
Mm-hmm. So Vihi Canaan with the Tipcha. This is going to close off the thought and have a slight pause after it. Number 7, when Yefet applies brutality and becomes another Canaan, they shall share a similar curse as suggested by the closing shape of the directional reading mark. So because of Yefet's connection to Canaan, when he aligns with him, he's also going to get a curse that's of the same level. So we see that we're reading through the exact same phrase with the exact same notes, and we're getting a completely different story out of it because of the relationship of it to what's come before. Eved, a slave with a mercha, again looking forward, he shall also become a slave like Canaan and lose his noble position as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. And here again, I think we can say what we said in the previous episode, the previous occurrence of Eved with the mercha. It's lightly connected to what's going to happen to Yefet, but it's going to move forward, and it's going to be something that influence just continues without end. I think we can say that here as well. Lamo, for them, with the stabilizing sof pasuk, thus the descendants of Yefet shall be recategorized, and the fate of Ham shall apply for them.
So you basically, are you saying that this, it sounds like